Hey everyone, Michael here from Southern Indiana Sawmill. I got a couple walnut logs that I'm going to be cutting today. And before I start, I want to ask you a question. What do you think I'm going to get out of these two logs? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now what I'm about to explain might be a little bit educational for some of you. This is the first log that I'm going to be cutting, and this is the second log that I'm going to be cutting. First one up on the mill is somewhere around 10 to 12 inches diameter on one end and branches off at the top. This one down here is probably about 12 inches on that end, and then down there is probably closer to about 14 to 15. Now, one thing that I want to show you here is there's two rules when it comes to cutting logs. The first is the rounder, the better. I want you to look down and sight this log here. How does that look to you? Does that look straight? I don't know if you can tell by the video, but that is not a very straight log. The sawmill is flat, but that log there, you can tell isn't. So general rule of thumb is, you've got to cut all of that bow out of it to make a straight board, obviously. Second rule is when it comes to walnut is there's always a very high scrap rate when cutting it. You see here, there's a difference between sapwood and heartwood. This white part here, that's all sapwood. Then there's your heartwood. That's that nice brown color that people like to see in walnut. And so, we have an interesting situation here. And that interesting situation is based on the two factors that I've just described. So we got this log up here on deck, the other one down here that's ready to go. And that is this. You need a log that is straight and something with enough heartwood to get a good amount of boards out of, or board feet. So this seems to be like maybe the worst possible situation. You have a walnut log which normally has up to a 50% scrap rate to cut out all the sapwood. And secondly, you have something that is not very straight. And so what do you think? What's going to happen in this video? Am I going to get good yield out of these two logs, or is this a complete and total waste of time? Well, you tell me as we get into it, and let me know what you think about the final result. Now, before I get started, there is one thing that I need to do, and that is to put this new sawmill art into the barn. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked on a sawmill. Certainly you've seen some of my videos by now. As you know that when you are working on the sawmill, that the rest is over. And so this is to add a little bit of comic relief, but also a reminder in the day-to-day work on the sawmill that when I am here, the rest is ended. So let's go throw this up real quick, and then we'll get to cutting these two logs. Well, there you have it. Looks pretty good up there. I got it kind of stationed right behind the sawmill. Now, I got this from a local flea market in town here, and the guy that owned the booth, I asked him where he got it, and he claims it came from an auction. So we're going to go with that. That's a guilt-free sign right there to put up in the barn. So let's get started and get these logs cut. And again, tell me what you think about the yieldage of these two logs at the end of the video. Just want to show you here, now that I've cleaned up all 4 sides of the bark, that we got 1, 2, 3 sides. You can see a teeny tiny bit of heartwood right there, that nice dark color. But so far, it's all sapwood, everything. These are some 1-inch pieces that were kind of cleanup pieces. You can see at the very top, near the branch out part, you got a little bit of heartwood there. A little bit of alien face going on. But, as I said, pretty much all sapwood. What you think, guys? What do you think? All right, here's what we got out of that first log. What's always interesting, you know, is how when you have a curved log, you're going to get the heartwood to match. You see, it's going to go curve around like that. So if you're ever picking out hardwood at your store and you see that the heartwood is curved, it's because the log was curved, okay? Lots of sapwood, very tiny bit of heartwood, and some of this heartwood that was closer to the center of the tree, or the pith, you can see has got that pithy inclusion kind of going on there. Could be filled in, not a huge deal. But yeah, either you're going to love this dark and light contrast, or you're going to hate it and probably say that this walnut is a waste of time. So let's go ahead and get the big brother cut here and see what that one reveals. You all might have seen me messing around there a little bit on that last cut. I'll show you what happened. It was cutting along just fine here. And then all of a sudden, the tooth started skipping. And I know it's really hard to see on this camera, but I got the old dull bandsaw blade waves in my cut right here. You can see how my blade was skipping. And so I was looking real close to see if I could find a nail or something. I thought, well, maybe that's it. No, that's not a nail. That's just walnut. And looked around the bark, got out the metal detector, which doesn't work super great on the sawmill because, you know, it's made of metal. And I couldn't really find anything. So, you know, it's real uncommon for a blade just to go dull like that. But I'm going to change out the blade. And obviously when this happens, the customer gets charged if it is a nail, but honestly, got to be honest about it, I can't find the culprit. Can't seem to find if there was a nail or whatever that I might have hit there. There's no evidence. So I'm going to change out the blade, keep cutting. Hopefully we don't hit anything else like that. Something like that. Here's the final look at what we got out of that last log. Now, the customer specifically requested that I try to get some 4/4 or 1 inch and some 6/4, which is 1.5 inches. So obviously the 6/4 had to come out of that second log because that's the only thing big enough to get something thick out of. But surprisingly, that second log yielded some pretty nice looking grain, at least on one face. Again, there are some inclusions in here. If I get real close, you can see in here. Here we go. That's kind of a characteristic, I guess, of these logs, because there are some inclusions going through the center pith areas. But not too bad. You can see the book match cut. Book match, of course, is kind of like a mirrored cut. One face and the other kind of open like a book, or book match. Looks pretty cool, I think. Now, this leaves me with one question. And here's the question, I guess. When I'm custom sawing, I charge $100 an hour. That is the rate that I charge. Flat rate, doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, good logs, bad logs, does not matter. So people will bring me all kinds of things, and oftentimes I'll get people that bring me logs that are, needless to say, questionable. You know, in the industry, we have what are known as grades of logs. And if I were to call a logger and say, bring me some good saw logs, there's going to be an expectation that they are more or less round, that they have very little defects, limbs and so forth and so on coming out of them. But oftentimes I get customers that will bring me very small logs, and sometimes they're so small I have to tell the customer, that ain't going to work, I got to kick that one out. And sometimes they'll bring me stuff that is really crooked. And here's the thing, there's a certain guy on YouTube with a long beard. A lot of his videos he talks about turning something that is basically trash, if I can say it bluntly, into gold or something very, very valuable. Now here's the thing, there's value in everything, no doubt, and sometimes the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But in the industry, there are grading standards for what makes something really good quality and something not so good quality. And then, depending what someone would pay for that material is based on the grade, and that only makes sense. Same thing with all sorts of things in this world, whether it be the meat that you eat, the produce that you buy, or the logs you cut. And so here's the question for you. This customer will get charged $100. That is my minimum rate. So if it takes me less than an hour, it's still going to be $100. That's just being open and honest and transparent with you all. Maybe that cost will go up in the future. Cost of everything else is going up. Operational costs here are going up. Everything I have runs on diesel. You guys know how that goes. But this is going to be $100 for them worth of wood. The logs, the trees basically cost them nothing, just a little time to cut down. Based on what you've seen, is this worth $100? Well, you tell me. You want to know my opinion? Well, at the cost of walnut, currently, in my area, $8 to $9 a board foot for 1 inch thick material, and probably close to $10 to $12 a board foot for 6/4 material. They've got basically 3 good 6/4 boards and maybe a little bit of usable in the 1 inch material. So it's close. It's close, guys. I'm going to let you make the decision on that. I don't know if you can hear that. That's a bunch of geese flying overhead. They're heading out east. I reckon they've had enough here. Well, anyhow, thanks for watching another video. God bless you all. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.